The test server for the April balance patch has been out for 1 day now, and honestly, I really like the upcoming changes. Of course, that's the test server, and all things that you see there are subject to change, and I'm pretty sure that a lot of things will be receiving some micro adjustments as time goes on. But overall, the changes and the balance changes overall pretty nice. I like the change on the armor plates, armor hardeners, and at the shield extenders. It brings them very close, or should I say closer to the EVE Online equivalents. The modules in EVE Online are mostly passive, they have a passive effect, you don't have the active effect of the modules. And in EVE Echoes at the moment, they did improve the passive effect, while they significantly reduced the active effect, and I personally really like that. Now the damage modules, or should I say the damage enhancement modules, did also receive a significant overhaul, and some would say a nerf, and it is kind of a nerf when you think about it, because they improved the passive effect, but the active effect of these modules has also been reduced. So I will use the Balgorn as the example here for most of the things, and I will test out other ships as well when the patch is live, because like I said before, everything that you see here is subject to change. Now the large pulse lasers did receive a small buff to damage, and overall that will benefit most armor ships, including the Balgorn, Apocalypse Striker, and other armor ships and other ships with lasers as well. Some icons were also kind of changed. The medium pulse lasers have been changed so that you can differentiate between them. That's something that really did need to happen, because, well, the medium beam lasers and medium pulse lasers have the same icons, and well, that kind of can get a little bit weird in the station. 322 and over here 335 and 204 on thermal. The rest of the stats seem to be the same, so the large pulse lasers did receive a small buff to damage. Again, any buff is okay, and well, I'm definitely not going to complain about the pulse lasers. They really needed the small buff, to be honest. Other weapon systems, other close range weapon systems have a little bit higher DPS output than the pulse lasers. Now, let's go to the next module. The large beam lasers did receive a little nerf on tracking. Here you can see the medium lasers and the new icon for the medium lasers. So, the large beam lasers did not receive any nerf on the damage, but they received a little nerf on tracking speed. It's 1.9 at the moment on the test server, and on the current live one the tracking should be around 2.5, but let me just double check that. It should be 2.5. However, I might be wrong. Let's just quickly scroll down and let's take a look at the beam laser. 2.29. So a small nerf on that, but everything else looks to be the same. Overall, they did nerf the tracking on the beam lasers because of the Apocalypse Striker, and because that ship has been used very often for high-sec mission running. Still is one of the best ships for that purpose. Now, the rifled railguns did receive a buff to tracking. It's at the moment at 2. On the live version it's around 1.2, I believe. Let me just quickly go and check that. I used the large rifled railguns on the Hyperion. So far they work really well, and this little tracking buff will definitely improve that. It's 1.67, okay. It's a buff of 0.23, and that's actually pretty okay and quite acceptable. Alright, well, let's now go towards this little thing. This is the new pulse bomb, something similar to smart bombs, but this only affects drones. Overall, we don't have any use for this because we don't participate in large fights, but This module will be very useful if you are in a big fleet, very useful if you have a lot of drone boats as your enemy, and it should do a really good job at balancing out the current drone problem that we have in large scale battles. We all know that drone boats are the main thing used in big battles now, and this should reduce the number of drones, and it will allow for a lot more tactics to be introduced to the game. Now on to the extenders. Well, this is the large shield extender. This affects all extenders from small to large and to the capital ones. 8255 increase, and the active increase is 7.4 thousand. Active time 25 seconds, cooldown 180 seconds. Now let's quickly go to the large shield extender in the live version. And here you will see that they did improve the passive effect. They actually almost doubled the passive effect on the shield. They increased the cooldown time from 60 to 180 seconds, and the active was also increased to 7.4 thousand, so also almost a 50% increase. And honestly, that's okay. I see that the passive tanking on shield tank ships will be interesting. The extra shield should compensate for the long cooldown time, and the module's emergency use will be a lot better now. Also, the medium shield boosters also did receive a small buff. They did reduce the cycle time, they did reduce the shield boost per cycle a little bit, but it will recover shield a lot faster, and it will use a lot less capacitor. That was done in order to balance them out with the medium armor repairs, which were more efficient than the shield boosters. And this change is okay. I personally don't use the medium boosters on any of my cruisers, but I can see the medium shield booster being used on frigates, and that's very interesting. Now, the reactive shield hardeners were the same. They haven't been changed. The effect is still the same on all of the modules on both the test server and both on the live server. However, B-type, A-type and X-type modules did receive a very nice buff to resistance, as you will see here. Let me go back to the live version. Now let's scroll down. So, B-type here has 37.03 resistance. Now let's go to the test server. It has 37.73. So a 0.70 increase on the B-type. Now, like I said, the reactive ones did not receive the buff, only the adaptive ones. C-types remain the same. B-types, A-types and X-types were changed. And I think that also applies to armor hardeners. We'll also go to armor hardeners later on. The B-type here is 37.73. A-type is 38.98. That's actually very nice. The A-type on the live one is 37.52. That's a nice percentage right there. And the X-type has 40.19%. And over here the X-type has 37.98. Yeah, that's a significant little increase, quite noticeable, and you'll definitely notice that difference in PvP or if you are running missions. But using X-type for a mission kinda weird, although I think a lot of people do that. Now on to the armor hardeners. The reactive armor hardeners remain the same. They haven't been changed, and that also applies for B-type, A-type and X-type modules. Not quite sure why they haven't increased the reactive ones, or did they actually increase them? 16.14. Yeah, they haven't increased. It's the same effect on both versions at the moment. Okay, that's okay. Although I did expect the reactive ones to be improved as well, but I guess that's not happening. B-type here is 28.62. B-type over here is, let me find them, 31.5. Now that's a nice increase. The armor hardeners received a greater increase than the shield hardeners, and that's interesting. Now the resistance on both armor and shield will be similar. 34.21 here. The X-type here is 30.38. Now that's 4% increase. That's actually nice. That's actually nice. And that would be it for the armor hardeners. Onto armor plates. Now, armor plates have been used to replace active tanking on the live version for a very long time, especially on the Abaddon. In some cases it works on the Balgon as well. It gives 5.5 thousand increase, 5.5 additional armor, and 18.88 ratio upon activation. Reactivation time 60 seconds and the duration is 25 seconds. This is on the live version, by the way. So it did not kind of fit within the purpose of the module. People were using it for a more active tank with the Abaddon and other ships, and it caused them to be nearly immortal. Those ships were ridiculously tanky. Now, over here, the increase is 11,000. That's doubling in the armor increase, the passive effect. Activation time 25 seconds, reactivation delay 180 seconds, and additional armor increase 3.6 thousand. So the armor plates did receive a big buff on the passive increase, but they did receive a slight nerf on the active effect. The duration time remained the same, and the delay is 180 seconds, which triples the current reactivation delay on the live version. I did kind of see this one coming from a very long distance, because it was obvious that it was ridiculous that you can literally replace armor repairers with these passive modules. Even in EVO 9 these modules are passive and you don't have the emergency activation, so this change is refreshing, to be honest. Now, one little change on the rigs that I personally love is the change on the rig that improves armor repair speed, and for a moment I forgot its name, but let me just quickly scroll down to the rig. It is the nanobot acceleration rig. It got a nice 8% improvement in the activation time. That means my Hyperion will repair itself a lot better than before, because my Hyperion is already built for maximum possible armor repair, and already built for shortening the armor cycle duration. This will improve that even more, and oh man, you know, I'm currently looking like it currently looks like it will repair 1.5 armor per cycle every 7 seconds, around that number. So we will have to see how that will go. And the other armor modules did not receive any change. The resistance remains the same. That's what I noticed. The nanobot got improved, and I love that. I really do. Active armor tanking on the Hyperion will be really broken, and I love it. The shield rigs remain the same. Only the armor rigs did receive that significant buff, or should I say only that one armor rig did receive that nice little buff, which is quite welcomed, honestly. The Hyperion does really need fast repairs. Okay, well, that would be it for these little rigs. Now it will be time to jump on one of my favorite aspects of this update. Now first, let me just show you what I'm talking about, the Hyperion. I should have the Hyperion in this station. There is the Hyperion. I still realize that I haven't emptied my cargo on all of these ships. So the Hyperion currently is one of the best armor tanking ships, has best armor repairs, and overall is ridiculously tanky. This is my current build with quad armor repairs, and this is the current armor repair speed, 8.4 seconds. Now, for some reason, sometimes it shows 7.6, sometimes it shows 8.4. Really not sure what's happening with that, so I guess I have to most likely repair my client because it looks like it has some bugs. But 7.6, in this case 8.4 seconds, that will be improved significantly after the next update. And the Hyperion will be even more tanky, and it will repair faster and more efficient than ever before. So that is one thing that I am excited about. Kinda really weird how most of my ships are actually going to benefit from this update. Both the Balgon and the Hyperion will benefit from this new update. Or should I say, all Blood Raider ships will definitely benefit from the update. Now onto some ships. The Astra receives a really little nice bonus on scanning, or should I say on opening boxes in relic and data sites. It receives a extra 25% bonus on the success rate. That's a significant increase, and your chances to open the boxes is going to be vastly improved. Now, I still really want them to introduce a mini game when you open the boxes. It would be really nice, and I think people would actually love that. But, you know, that little bonus on the chances to open the boxes is actually really nice. Combine that with the top tier scanners is really good, and it will improve your income from exploration quite a bit. It should also improve the amount of open boxes. Now the other faction ships also received some little changes. The Dramiel received a nice DPS buff, and overall the Dramiel did get a nice little change. I love that little ship, although unfortunately I don't fly frigates that often. The other faction frigates remain around the same. Some will receive small buffs in damage, some will receive some small buffs in other things, but all faction frigates usually remain the same. Garmur got improved. It got improved DPS, speed and damage, which is to be expected. That little ship did kinda underperform, but now it should be a little bit better, and overall it should fulfill its purpose a lot better than before. And of course the other ships remain around the same. All ships did receive a slight nerf on speed, 45% to 20% increase from the command skills, which should change all ships' velocities, but the relative speed on all ships and the difference will remain the same because all ships did receive the nerf. And now on to my personal favorite part, Interceptor Nerf. You know, these little things were ridiculously broken, although I personally haven't had any problems with them, but I know a lot of players who did have some problems with interceptors, and finally they are getting put into their place by receiving the highest nerf out of any ship at the moment. Now here you can take a look at the bonuses. The damage bonus on the tier 8 interceptors got absolutely murdered. 50% reduction on this ship, and of course the other skills and other bonuses were changed. That should put them into their supposed role as a recon and scout ship. You can still use the interceptor for transporting, but the combat capabilities will be vastly reduced, and that is okay, because that's the thing that assault frigates, assault destroyers, faction frigates do. Well, except the Astra, that little thing is a exploration boat, but it can be used in PvP. Okay, let's go and let me show you the velocity. The velocity got decreased. Some say it did get decreased a lot. I will have to wait out for this to be out on the live version, and then I would like to go and reach a conclusion. But until that, these are the numbers, these are the bonuses and stats of these ships. Slasher did also receive a significant nerf on damage. All of the Interceptor did receive a good nerf on damage. They also did receive a nerf on velocity on top of the velocity reduction from the skills. So I believe even one web or two webs should be enough to slow down an Interceptor in order to hit the Interceptor. And that gives you a good fighting chance against these very, very broken ships currently in the live version of the game. 17.5% small cannon damage on this little boat, and on the test version it is around 10%, I believe, and that's 12.5%. Okay. That's a significant reduction on top of the reduction in the speed and other things. Yeah, that will be noticeable. Okay, let's go to the next little boat. I'm just double checking the stats just to make sure that I don't miss anything. Now this Interceptor completely lost the damage buff. It only has the capacitor reduction. This little ship could reach 1,200 DPS. Well, not anymore, that's for sure. This is the live version. There you have the 10% small laser damage increase on the live version. On the test version, that doesn't exist. That's nice. The tier 10 version of this ship has, well, similar bonuses. Similar small laser bonus here. On this one, it has 17.5% damage increase. So a 7.5% nerf per skill level. That's quite significant. On the next Interceptor, again you have the railgun damage here, and over here the railgun damage will be nerfed to 2.5%. Also a significant nerf of 7.5%. And now on to the last tier 10 version of this Interceptor. It should retain the 12.5%. It is actually 17.5%, okay, and on the test version it should be 12.5%. Yep, it's 12.5%. Okay, also a 5% damage reduction, which is still a very nice reduction bonus. Now, the exploration frigates did receive one extra medium slot module. Now they have 3 slots. That means we can fit the scanner, data and relic analyzer. Something that up until this moment you could only do on the Astra. They also received the same 25% success rate on opening the boxes. That is also a very welcome bonus. Now you don't have to fly the Astra for a maximum performance. Now you can go and get one of these cheaper exploration frigates, and they will also have around the same performance as the Astra in exploration, and that makes them also a lot more usable. The tier 6 ones remain the same. They haven't been changed. Only the tier 10 exploration frigates did get the nice little buff. So if you are not tier 10, then your best chance is to buy an Astra. Kind of weird, because the Astra is the best exploration frigate, so unless you are, well, a weird spot honestly, so kind of hard to explain. But if you are not tier 10, and if you're like tier 8 or tier 9, and if you want to do exploration, then the Astra is still the best little boat for that job. And in my case, I'm definitely not going to replace the Astra with one of these exploration frigates. You can also use the Stratios for that job, although the Stratios did receive a drone damage buff, 5%, and It makes the Stratios better in the PvP aspect, although you can still use the Stratios for exploration. Although I haven't seen one Stratios in exploration yet. Let's go towards one of the next modules that did receive a decent change. The Capacitor Batteries. Blood Raider pilots will absolutely love this part. The Capacitor Batteries currently in the live version have a good use at repelling Blood Raider ships. Basically, you fit 2 or 3 Capacitor Batteries and a Blood Raider ship cannot kill your Capacitor. Now, with the new patch, that's not the case anymore. The Capacitor Batteries have been changed quite a bit. The active effect has a significant cooldown, while the passive effect was increased, and that's actually pretty okay. Now let's go to the Capacitor Battery here, and let's open them up. 1879 capacitor increase passively, 3007 when activated, and 20.5% capacitor ratio upon activation. 25 seconds is the activation time with a 60-second cooldown. So you fit 2 or 3 on the of these modules on a rattlesnake, and you can practically kill a Balagorn without a problem once the Balagorn runs out of cap. Now here is 3007 the passive effect, 3007 the active effect. 25 seconds is the active time with a 180-second cooldown. So you're not going to be able to spam the capacitor batteries like before. And again, they were supposed to be emergency use modules. Now the neutralizer can now empty a capacitor battery capacitor, if that makes sense. So you will not be able to counter Blood Raider ships with this trick anymore. On the live server currently, on the live version of the game, you can't empty the capacitor battery cap with the neutralizers. That's going to be changed into the April balance patch, and that makes Blood Raider ships scary again. My personal favorite thing of this update is definitely the capacitor battery change. On to some battleships now. The Rock did receive a massive bonus on the overall hit points on shield, armor, and hull. It's around 30%, and don't think that it kinda needed the buff, but at the same time I always felt like the Rock was kinda not tanky enough. But with this update, the Rock will be basically, well, a rock. in that case it will be stone solid, a very tanky ship. Now let's take a look at the stats. Here you can take a look at the shield, armor, and hull. Let's go to the stats over here, and you can take a look at the shield, armor, and hull. Yeah, definitely a 30% increase, maybe. I think it's actually 35%. But yeah, overall a very nice buff on this ship, and I'm definitely looking forward to try this ship out. I think I'll have fun with this. Definitely some interesting ideas with the Rock. Other stats should remain the same. The only change that they did on the ship is the overall increase on shield, armor, and hull. The module slots remain the same, and everything else does remain the same. Overall, a very interesting little ship. Now, Typhoon did get 1 extra medium slot and 1 extra bonus. Here you can take a look at the 1 extra slot. 746 is on the test server, and on the live one it is, let me open this, 736. That 1 extra medium slot is going to be very important, and I'm personally very glad that they did give the Typhoon 1 extra medium slot. Now on to the bonus. Here you can take a look at the bonus here. Large missile torpedo flight velocity on top of the scan resolution. That is very nice. The missiles on the Typhoon will have very good damage application, on small ships, the Ortus is in big trouble indeed. Now the Ortus has to be very careful around Typhoon ships. The tier 10 version of the Typhoon also did get that little buff, and I love it. The Typhoon ships are going to be very lethal against battlecruisers, cruisers, frigates. These things are now deadly, and I'll definitely think twice before engaging a Typhoon with an Ortus, because those missiles are quick. Scorpion did get a... well, I should say they did get a roll bonus, and overall they did change that ship quite a bit. Let me just double check that. Okay, now on the live version there is no roll bonus. Here you can take a look at the other stats, at the other bonuses. This is a ship that I personally have not been flying that much. Haven't been really interested in the Scorpion, but this little bonus here is quite interesting, and it should make this ship more effective. Although the Scorpion is more of a bait and a fleet ship than for anything else, I believe. Now on to the Armageddon. I did a video on the Armageddon a while back, and I did say something about the ship needing a extra low slot. Well, thankfully the developers did listen, and this ship did receive one extra low slot. The Armageddon really needed that one extra low slot to improve the tank or to improve the speed, it depends on what you need. It also did receive a nice little buff on some other electronic warfare modules. I forgot to speak there for a moment, my apologies. And I really like the change on the Armageddon. The extra low slot is definitely going to be very useful and very important. Will change things a lot. Now the Armageddon has a good fighting chance against the Belgorn, which is still one of the most scariest and most lethal ships. Will be more lethal and more scary after the balance patch is live. Both the tier 9 and the tier 10 Armageddon received the same module increase, and that's really nice. Okay, now onto the faction ships. All faction ships can now lock 8 targets. Now there's one faction ship that did receive a nerf. It's the Nightmare with the shield field module. At the moment the Nightmare is one of the tankiest ships in the game, and after the balance patch it will remain the tankiest ship in the game, although a little bit nerfed. The shield field module has a 41% resistance increase on the live version, and it doesn't have any other negative effects on the ship. Currently on the test version, the shield field module has around 15% resistance increase and minus 50% velocity reduction bonus on the Nightmare or on any ship that uses the shield field module, and you cannot warp if you are the bubble ship. Now first, that kind of looks really harsh, but when you think about it, it was kind of needed, because the Nightmare literally could tank dreadnoughts, and that's kind of ridiculous, okay? So now they changed that, and you will still be able to tank a lot of damage, but you will need a good fleet support, and you will need a lot of logistic ships. Overall, a nice little change to the dynamic of the fight. The Nestor did receive some reduction on remote armor repairs. The other faction ships basically remain the same. The Belgorn will be very happy after the balance patch, that's all I'm saying. The Striker battleships, oh man, they used to do so much damage. Now, after the change, the Strikers directly were not affected that much. The stats on these ships, you remain around the same, but the module bonuses, the modules that increase the damage on weapons, have been changed a lot. Now, currently there's a little bug going on. It shows 9% damage increase on both the X type and both the Mark 1 type, so for now ignore the number, because the number currently is kind of bugged, so I expect that to be changed. But the passive effect on all of these modules has been increased, the active effect has been reduced, and the overall cycle speed of the weapons has been reduced from 400% to 100%. So they reduced that by a lot, and that does affect the DPS on strikers, which did benefit a lot from the increased rate of fire that these modules did bring. Is that a necessarily bad change? I personally believe no, because the strikers did do a lot of damage, and I fly strikers with a similar build, and this change was kinda needed. Now the strikers have been put into their place, if I can say if I can call it like that. Now they're doing around the same amount of damage that other faction ships do. For example, the Megaton Striker will not do 10,000 damage, 10,000 DPS anymore. It will do around 4 to 5,000, while the Apocalypse Striker will do around 3,500, while it still will have the same good old range. The Raven Striker, well, I don't know what to say about that thing. I personally don't really... It's not that I don't like the Raven Striker, the siege mode on that thing is really not good. It's good against structures, good against capitals, but against other sub-capital ships it will not do really well. And the Tempest Striker will also still do well. So that's the change on strikers. And of course, I almost forgot to mention, the EVE Online equivalent of these modules are all passive modules. So by making these modules more passive, they are actually approaching the EVE Online type of modules, and I really like that. I really do like that, and I guess that at one point in the future, maybe, I would guess, maybe in a year, maybe even less, maybe in the next balance patch, who knows, maybe we will lose the active effect of these passive modules, and maybe we will get weapon overheating in the future. So very excited about these changes. If they do that, then we would be able to almost replicate identical EVE Online builds into this game, and I'm personally excited for that. So those are some of the biggest changes that I really wanted to cover with this April balance patch. Again, all of this is subject to change. I'm really sure that they will do a lot of small changes from this point on and throughout this upcoming month, maybe even in the next month. So we will see what the end result is. I'm very excited to build new builds for these ships. I feel like passive armor tanking, passive shield tanking will be very interesting. Will be very similar to EVE Online, and again, that's one of the things that I really like. I loved the way how EVE Online works, and having things in this game approach EVE Online is actually exciting, and I believe it is definitely a step into the right direction. Well, hope that you enjoyed. Feel free to tell me what you think about this update. Feel free to tell me what you think of the changes, and feel free to tell me how you feel about this game going the route of EVE Online in terms of modules. And slowly but surely, we are definitely getting the EVE Online experience in this game. So with that being said, stay safe, fly safe, and I'll see you next time.